Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome from the Research Center for Irish Studies, affiliated to the Faculty of Arts and Humanities at the British University in Egypt. Today's seminar is a drama course seminar focusing on Irish drama. It is a collaboration between the Research Center for Irish Studies and the University of Jordan, Department of English Language and Literature, with my colleague, Dr. Duaa Salameh, and her students at the university, at Jordan University. We also have with us this afternoon two guests from the Department of English Language and Literature, Faculty of Arts and Humanities at the British University in Egypt, Associate Professor Dr. Ahlam Osman and Dr. Nagwa Sulaiman. We will start this drama seminar discussion by giving the floor to my partner and collaborator, Dr. Duaa Salameh from the Jordan University and her students. And then we will allow them to give us a briefing about how they went about it and about themselves. We will go back and discuss the actual task or project that was the point of collaboration. And then we will give the floor to the students to discuss their work, and then followed by an open discussion with Associate Professor Dr. Ahlam Osman, Dr. Nagwa Sulaiman, and myself and Dr. Duaa Salameh with the students. I look forward to this, very eager to hear the results and discussions. Dr. Duaa Salameh, the floor is yours. Here you go, and please introduce yourself to our audience and our attendees.
All right, thank you very, very much, Dr. Rania. I'm very pleased that we got the chance to see each other and meet at the conference, and it all started from there. It's like the meeting of two great minds. I like that. I like this kind of collaboration, and I feel that this is very helpful for our students because they should know that learning is a dialogue, and it's an engaging in a conversation that should include so many people. Now, this is I'm teaching this course to almost graduate students. This is one of the, obligatory courses that are given at the University of Jordan, the English department, and students should have preliminary courses before they get to this one. But in general, it's very intriguing and very interesting course. We're doing a number of various kind of texts. We're starting with ancient ones. We're starting with Greek, and then we move to Renaissance, and then after that to two modern texts, or actually three modern texts. So we're doing in total 5 different plays, starting with Sophocles' Oedipus, and then moving to Macbeth, and then after that we're taking A Doll's House, and then Death of a Salesman, and we're ending with Acts Without Words, Act Without Words by Samuel Beckett. Now, the students are, they're quite, very energetic and very excited about doing this course. We're doing some projects, and we're discussing various aspects of drama. And I thought that with collaborating with you in this particular project will allow them to do also more of self kind of analysis and be more engaged with the text on their own, especially that sometimes it's quite overwhelming to take a lot of concepts, and you need to try yourself to see how is this performed or presented in other plays. The play that was chosen by you was very also, powerful, symbolic. You can see it in so many different ways. And Room itself as a title has been tackled in many different works. I mean, there's this idea of room in Sartre as well. And the fact that the play itself has been turned into a novel, or was novel and then turned into drama, and then also a movie, so this allows us to see the various presentations, different genres, and how you're as a student should be able to analyze and to be able to understand the implications behind each and every genre. So I think this is very helpful to our students, and it will expand their horizon and their ability to engage with text, because analysis is quite demanding and required a lot of So that's the thing. What I did is that I gave them this assignment, and I asked them first to look at the first exercise, which is about watching this short video about Room, and then the other one. And I felt that this was helpful from the feedback that I got from my students. Now, one of the things that was helpful is the feeling that they're going to get feedback, and that this is not the final draft. You know, we always work on drafting, and I always tell them that writing is rewriting, reading is rereading. So that's why it's not a final. And when they submit their draft, it's not final. So they always have a chance to look back and to edit, to peer review, and all these things. I feel that they're very happy about that because they've submitted their first draft, and they're waiting for today's seminar and for our feedback and our discussions. And so they're going to resubmit their papers after this. So this is in general what we're doing. And I felt that from reading their, let's say, their response, especially reflection, and the way that you've designed it, you've given them choices, and they felt quite grounded, and they were able to really explore. And I like this idea of exploring and writing something that they feel they'll be, guided after that. Okay, we will share the project in a bit after. I think I'm done right now. I'm giving the mic to you back, Dr. Rania. And by the way, I'm sorry, I've just started quickly. I'm very happy also to have Dr. Ahlam and Dr. Nagwa with us. That would definitely enrich the whole discussion. So we're all in this together, and I like this idea of an intellectual community coming, discussing, and allowing our students to see this kind of collaboration, because I always tell them to peer review. I always tell them to read their papers and to guide themselves so that they can, the final product would be something quite refined and polished. Okay, thank you very much.
Dr. Daangong, first of all, I'm also, like your kind self, grateful to my colleagues, Associate Professor Dr. Ahlam Osman and Dr. Nagu Sulaiman for joining us this afternoon. But Dr. Da, you have not really introduced yourself to us. You've introduced your students and the project, and we'd love to know, all right. Introduce
Sure.
To the community here in Egypt and the international community.
Well, as I told, I think one of the things that I will start with, which is quite emotional, that I feel that I'm one of those, how do you say it? I love Egypt a lot, and especially Cairo, and especially, Alexandria. Alexandria was, and I expect it to be. I always look at it as my soulmate. It's the city of my soul. My PhD was, I got my PhD from Wisconsin, Madison in the United States, and it was on Alexandria as a colonial cosmopolitan city. And so I went there for a field sort of trip, and I got the sense of the place, and it was such a fascinating experience. I met a lot of people, and my interests are actually very much about modernism, postmodernism, post-colonial studies, cosmopolitanism, and I always have a BA in Arabic literature, so I'm very much also interested in comparative literature. Part of my research is also engaging with Arabic literature. I teach at the university, and I also teach university requirements to all students at the university. One of the courses that I'm giving right now, which is something I feel very happy about, which is great books, and this allows me also to really discuss a lot of these literary issues with students across the board. So in general, yes, I love what I'm doing. I enjoy learning and exploring things and knowing people, great people like you. Okay, and I love my students. Right, that's who I am. Okay, I hope it's enough.
Thank you very much, Dr. Da, and I'm just very quickly going to share with you through my screen. So share screen, yes, share screen. Right, this is the project that we collaborated on, and this was the task that we shared, we created, the Research Center for Irish Studies created for the University of Jordan students in the English department to work on. All right, so the task starts out with that this is a research project in Irish drama, and that the play text Room by Emma Donoghue, who's an Irish playwright, currently living in Canada, all right, will be shared with them through their module course instructor, Dr. Duaa Salameh. And the task was, all right, divided into 4 parts, that they read the text, attend an online seminar with us and share their outcome, write a critical reflection and, and get feedback on that, and then do a role play. All right. And also the role play can be done in two ways. And we'll see that at the very end, because it says the role play, you work with a partner or solo, select a short scene from the playroom, act it out. And then they can also react or reverse the play by doing the scene in Arabic. I don't know if anyone will be willing to do this afternoon, but we'll see who's got the courage to do that. But the task starts out very simply, and it's scaffolded in terms of student-centered activities and engaging the students. So before you read, watch the short video, and that they were required to do that, and a link was shared with them. And then that was followed with asking them to write something about the play. And then after that, they were to watch another short video about a particular scene and do an analysis and summarize the main ideas. They were then asked to read the play text, the play version, the adaptation of Room from a movie, because it first was a film, and it was an award-winning film, and then it was a novel, and then finally it was adapted to a drama text. But so the version or the genre we're focusing on this afternoon is the drama genre. Okay, so they were asked to read the play and highlight it, annotate it, and then refer to secondary sources. And I don't know if they had a chance to read the paper I published on Emma Donohue's Room. That could have been one of the secondary sources, and they can still use that in their reflection as they write it. I can put the link in the chat box for easy reference. So this is the task. All right, and we will actually invite students to share their experience of reading, all right, Room. And here is also the actual, a cover, one of the covers. That's the book cover of Room. All right, so, and you can see here that the young boy, all right, is peeking out of a closet or a wardrobe, and we'll talk about the interpretation of the significance of both the boy, the title, and the wardrobe. All right, so now I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kindly ask Dr. Duaa if you can invite your students to start sharing, or if you'd like to say something about how you went about the collaborative project with your students, and then invite your students to talk about their work. It's entirely up to you how you want to proceed from here.
Yeah. Well, I think that, as I said, I did not interfere a lot in this. I wanted them, because we've been doing a lot of analysis of other plays, and we were working on our own, syllabus. So I thought that this might be a very good chance for them to do some kind of independent reading and to try their luck, okay, in that sense. I shared with them 2 of your articles, by the way. The first one is about, because both they have something about an examination of the use and production of space in Room and other plays as well. And the other one is the Irish theater as imaginative space, and also the reconstruction of the Irish identity. And I thought this is a very good chance for them. First of all, because I wanted them to read some real good kind of, peer-reviewed kind of academic piece of writing, because most of the time they go to easy way out, to .com things. And, and I always tell them that you cannot do that if you are really a student at the university student who is a researcher and about to become, an authority in these things yourself. So you have to really be trained in reading and doing things in the proper way and read the proper stuff. So this is what I did. So I left them on their own. And the promise is that you're going to, and that's why I thought that they weren't very much ready for their own presentations, because the promise was that they're going to listen to discussions by professionals about the play, and they will then jump in and reflect about their own experience. So, but I still have some volunteers from my students that are willing to talk about their experience, okay? And I feel, and I always encourage them, these are moments and opportunities for you to really find answers to a lot of things that you're doing and some very solid and strong feedback. So I'm going to start with, I don't know if that's possible, but with Layan Hassan, if she's willing to do that. And there is another student, Hassan. And then there's also another, but let's take it from there and then we'll see. Layan, are you ready?
Yes, Professor, I'm here.
Okay, great. So
First,
what would you tell us about the whole experience? And yes, the floor is yours, my darling.
good afternoon. First, I'm very happy and I have like pleasure to see these great professors today in this conference. And I think about the experience, it's very interesting because I've taken about like 2 semesters ago children's literature course, and I think this playroom may come under the umbrella of children's literature, because it talks about the bond between this strong bond between a mother and her son. She's trying to protect him from that guy, Old Nick. So I found it very interesting talking about the issue of childhood loss of innocence, because Jack at first is protected by his mother, and then he's all of a sudden exposed to the world, and he's trying to find like what's out there on his own. So it's about the detachment of his mother and being an independent character. This play is giving the character of the child a weight and importance in discovering his inner thoughts and his personality away of his mother, and it has to do with the dramatic technique the professor asked us about presenting Big Jack and Little Jack. So I've written this in my reflection paper, and it's presenting his inner thoughts, to give him space to express himself and to discover that he can be himself. He can be his own version of Jack, a better version of himself. And also, Kaman, I'm writing research paper, this research about childhood loss of innocence. So I found it like helpful in elaborating my research. So that's it.
Well, I'm very happy, Layan, to hear that. And I'm sure, inshallah, today now, after you listen to all the discussions, that you can modify or add or have more specific, ideas to, come up with a better kind of argument for your reflection paper. But thank you very much for that. I felt that the idea of the children literature is very powerful and helpful. It is in so many ways. It's quite these works that can work for both adults and for children, and can be very symbolic as well. And we're going to discuss the symbolism behind the whole thing, because again, this is human beings' journey in life, and the room could be another, or the room and the closet, and all these small places might be another place for the womb and the whole idea of birth and all of that. I don't know if this is something that we can discuss and talk about later on. All right, that's great. Thank you very much, Layan. Sorry, I have Duaa. Duaa would like to say something. So yes, go ahead, Duaa.
Hi, Doctor. For me, I will make attention for Emma's style. When she used the style hint was a perfect, which is an indirect reference to someone or something or a specific event. In this story shows that the hint when Jack was calling the man Old Nick, because he did not see it and he comes at night. It is a kind of irony, as Santa Claus comes at night, but in a positive way. Either Nick was like the devil. The first one I want to talk about that Emma style when she used the style hint, which is an indirect reference to someone or something or a specific event. In this story showed that the hint when Jack was calling the man Old Nick because he did not see it and he comes at night. It is a kind of irony, as Santa Claus comes at night, but in a positive way. Either Nick was like the devil. That's
okay.
it.
Thank you, Duaa. Thank you for this. All right, Hassan, would you like to also say something?
Yes, Doctor. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts in collaboration with other universities. I just would like to discuss two concepts briefly. The first one is the first reflection is about how Jack was. There were several dramatic techniques to display him as an adult and as a child at the same time, because after reading the literary work, we can say that Jack was raised in unfamiliar circumstances. It's no natural circumstances for a child to be raised, and the writer did a phenomenal job in portraying him as an adult. At some cases, he had to man up to protect his mother. We see this kind of bond developing between Jack and his mother, because Jack was deprived from the opportunity to be raised in normal circumstances, and as a child he needs love, and we see that his mother, she's providing this. She's his entire world, although he's like within a small room, yet she provides everything necessary for him. She's always there for him, and even when they go out, he's still very attached to her in a really positive way. He has no father, no family. Even his family kind of rejected him somehow. They don't typically feel comfortable around him, or he's a bit like, let's say, of a social outcast. I'm not blaming him. Drama is not for convicting others. We all know this, but we can't blame him. He's a child who was raised 5 years in a room, deprived from any social interactions, despite his mother. The only human interaction he had is with old Nick, which was extremely negative. He was hiding in his wardrobe every single time he comes in. He never saw any human beings. And the other reflection, I've read the two reflections, is the gender role within the play. We can interpret this play in several aspects. For instance, all the women who are being deprived from their rights and being abused by their husbands. Like, we have lots and lots of such scenarios, not literally, but metaphorically, women and their children living in their house, being deprived and being abused by their husband, and they can't do anything about it. It's like, metaphorically speaking, as if a woman break free from her husband abused, and now she's free in the world out with her son. I just thought of this while reading the text, and after resorting to external resources, it might be understood in this way and many other way to interpret the plot of events. This is it basically of what I want to share right now.
I would have wanted to wait to the end, but I do want to say that was magnificent. Thank you.
Well, I have to say something,
Dr.
Rania. Something about Hassan as well. Hassan is studying applied English, and so this is just a course he has to take because he's graduating, and it's substitute course. And I'm very happy to have him with us. He's been a great addition and not actually contributor to the course. I enjoy his responses, his participation. Thank you, Hassan, for being there, and also the others as well. But I mean, because he is different, it's not he's taking it as elective rather than part of his plan, the university plan. Thank you, Hassan. Can we take another student? Dr. Rania, is there time for that? Okay. Tasneem, could you please also jump in and present your
yes,
ideas?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tasneem.
Yeah.
Also very, very active, interactive, and participating student. Okay, so I'm happy to introduce her now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Firstly, I want to say that the new experience enables us to enter in an interesting and new adventure of our circumstances in life. So there is a dramatic technique chosen in room is presented to show a realization of space due to the transformation and the change of the protagonist, which is who is Jack. And this technique is implied when he is portrayed as a young boy and as an adult at the same time. So in which his role and his situation changed throughout the play. And there is a quotation, I liked it, which is, this leads us to further explore the fictional space of the play that Donogh makes the reader realize the new and fearful adventures of Jack and his mother Ma in Rome. So, and this causes a state of change that indicates the person must be adjustable to the new circumstances that are unbelievable. So this reflects Jack's position that transforms from his interior world to his outside world. And moreover, Jack is scared to discover modern things in the world outside Rome. So this is the way of thinking about his finite world is a form of the entire world of Rome, because he believes that there is no world outside the Rome. He depends on his mother Ma to tell him about the things that are inside a room are real, because he believes the room is his home.
Yes, absolutely, yes. He does believe that the room is his world, and that is his reality for many years as a child. So yes, you're absolutely on point with that.
Yeah. There's something that I would like to share as well.
I think, okay, also Noor Abu Tair has her hand up, but Dr.
Yeah, Noor, go ahead. I haven't seen her. Okay, go ahead, Noor.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Noor.
Okay, Doctor, one interesting interpretation, which is similar to what my colleague Tasneem said, is that the room represents our comfort zone in our lives. And we know that to develop ourselves, we have to leave our comfort zone and start exploring the world around us. And this is represented in Jack's struggle while he was in his journey of adaptation to the new world, and the change of Jack's perspective of normal things, as when he starts to adapt to the new life. The new life represents that experiencing the new things widens our perspective. The room does not seem normal anymore for him after experiencing the new world, and this reflects how new experiences changes our view of things that are around us. Yes, thank you.
That was a very good interpretation. Thank you for that, Noor.
Yeah, thank you, Noor. Well, the play is quite, it allows for so many different interpretations. The room itself as a title is quite open for a lot of interpretations. So, I mean, that's very interesting about the play itself. So there is this idea, this story, the trajectory or the main plot, which is about this female being trapped with her son for 5 years in a room. And it would allow, as Hassan said, for many interpretations. One of it is about women's, abuse in so many ways and the things that they have. But there's this interesting quotation, this interesting remark by and response by Ma herself to the interviewer. This is on page 64, when she says that I'm no saint, all I did was survive. I wish people would stop treating us like we are the only ones who ever lived through something terrible. People are locked up in all sorts of ways. And I thought that this is a major kind of remark by the author, because again, don't limit your options. Don't just look at the story like that. This is something that is more just than women abuse or children, mothers. It's something about our, it's a decision and how much we lock up ourselves in so many these claustrophobic existences, and we don't allow ourselves to grow. Part of this, as I said, the play and the way it's been structured, and even with this idea of having the same Jack, old and young, and young Jack existing at the same time, that kind of consciousness and subconsciousness in one way or another, that kind of existence and the possibilities of things. So it's interesting for the students. I have Duaa. Yes, she wants to, yes, go ahead, Duaa.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to share my thoughts about Room, the play. I wrote my reflection about how Jack is portrayed in the play as a young boy and an adult at the same time. And we can see, obviously, that is a comparison between Jack, who lived in the small room for a long time, and Jack, who had to escape and save his mother from the room. So a young boy who had a big responsibility. The adult Jack in the play is the same 5-year-old boy, but in different environments and in different circumstances. In my opinion, it was really interesting to live all the emotions and the time-related events with the characters and to try to figure out how they think and to try to figure out if Jack will be a normal child after all of these events and if he will be able to continue his life normally with no problems. That's it.
Thank you, Duaa. Thank you. Yeah, very well said. And I think, yeah, one of the things that we need to always to ask ourselves is why things are presented the way they are. They should be helping in understanding and in serving the purpose or the themes of the play. So I'm sure that the choice of everything in the play has to be justified by you as conscious and I would say mature readers, okay, who know about the world of literature and how to open up the text and all these things. So we start from there. We always need to find some kind of a meaning behind the choices that are made by the playwright, by the poet, by the writer, by whoever. Okay. Yes. Duaa, do you have anything to add?
Yes, doctor. The aspect of family is very important in this play because Jack has established some sort of a relationship with the objects around him in a sense where they become part of his family.
Lovely. Thank you, Duaa. Yes. Also, yes, because things seem to they acquire some kind of emotional value in themselves with all this experience, and because they made up for the rest of the world or for the absence of the world, because again, we saw how TV for him and the world outside is nothing but an illusion or something that is not real. So thank you, Duaa. Yes. Anyone else that would like to enrich this kind of discussion?
Before we open the floor to the professors,
Yes.
the Professor Dr. Ahlam Osman and Dr. Nabi Sulaiman. And myself and Dr. Duaa, of course.
Professor, I need to say something, but I can't raise my hand. Sorry.
All right, go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry, I should have. Okay, Sarah. Okay. Yes, yeah. Go ahead, Sarah.
I wanted to say that through Jack's eyes, I started to view the world differently, like things I took for granted. As a kid, I thought that people or kids should be grateful for what they have, and that things they do not realize that things they took for granted. Another point is that the mother does not want to be famous because there are babies around the world, orphans who stay in captivity for a long time. So she wants to highlight this idea of like
Sarah, the line is breaking, so yeah, but thank you very much for your contribution. Anyone else? All right, so
right, well, perhaps then just to give a brief idea about the drama adaptation of Room is that it is one of the best-selling narratives in post-Celtic Tiger Ireland, and it was published by Emma Donoghue in 2017. And it was produced by the Abbey Theatre Dublin, and it received a number of awards. So, and Donoghue's, it's a 2-act stage play, and I think, so it's a very, very short play, but it's very rich and significant in the themes that it actually tackles, and allows for a lot of interpretation from many, many perspectives. So the 2-act stage play revolves around Ma and Jack, as some of your students have already mentioned, and their experiences in and out of an 11 by 11 backyard shed where they're held captive by their abductor, Old Nick. Now, the backdrop to this play, or the context of this, is there's the social economic changes that were happening in Ireland and the economic boom of the 1990s and the advent of the Celtic Tiger and all the changes that were happening during that time. Now, one of the important aspects that a lot of your students have actually pointed out is the actual, and you have also pointed out, Dr. Duaa, is the use and production of space, as I've also published on that. So the liminal space that is used on the drama set actually is quite significant because it's a minimalist design, and it contrasts against key critical issues of racial tensions, social pressures, as well as psychological strains. And I believe that, because I've also published about Brian Friel, that the playroom reflects or draws strong parallels between Brian Friel's Dancing at Lunasa, Philadelphia, Here I Come, and Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, and Harold Pinter's The Room. I would like to leave this, the floor now to your kind self, Dr. Duaa, and Associate Professor Dr. Ahlam Osman and Dr. Negwa Sulaiman, if they'd like to, join the discussion at this point.
Yeah, I've been talking for very long, for long and discussing. So I'm going to leave it for our wonderful professors to, to participate, and then I'll come back to that. Okay, I hope you don't mind. No, because yes, I'm gonna relate this also to my students, to the plays also that we studied, and I thought that this would be very interesting and important. So yes, Dr. Ahlam and Dr. Negwa, yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Rania, for inviting me. I'm Ahlam Osman, Associate Professor of English Literature at the British University in Egypt. I'm also an Associate Professor at Al-Azhar University. My interest is currently in genre studies. And if I would reflect on the differences between Room, the play, the novel, the film, and the dramatic text, I would say that each of these genres has added a new perspective, a new interpretation, a new reading of Room. Let me first discuss with the students the difference between a dramatic text and a theatrical performance. What's the difference between a dramatic text and a theatrical performance? And the question is to your students, Dr. Duaa.
Well, this is something we always discuss, me and what the major thing when I discuss drama, the first thing I tell my students is a quotation from Hamlet: "The play is the thing." So I mean,
yeah.
So yeah. But I don't know. They're supposed to be able to reflect on this and discuss it, or at least give some, their ideas or opinions. So who would like to give it a shot, guys?
I would also be grateful that if you also would share the difference with us once the students have.
Yeah. Well, this is listening from the expert. Yes, that would be great. So yes, my lovely students, who would like to show the difference between the script or the dramatic text?
Have you read the dramatic text, or have you watched the play?
No, actually, we only read the play. The actual text that was given to me by Dr. Rania. So they read the play as it's published. The way it's, this is the published version, isn't it, Dr. Rania?
Yes, yeah. Well, they read the play text. So no, they did not watch it as a performance, Dr. Ahlam.
Exactly, we did not watch it. Yes, exactly.
They read the text.
All right, let's put it in. Is this the same script as well? The same one for the play, or is it different? And maybe because you know about that, Dr. Ahlam, you might help us in seeing the major variations. Okay, we have Layan and we have Hassan. Okay, let's listen to Hassan and Layan first, and then we're going to go back to you, Dr. Ahlam. Yes, Hassan. Sorry, Hassan.
Yes. The difference is that in the context of drama, the actual play is acting and performing the script. on screen, on stage, in front of people. And the context that we read is just written upon a piece of paper. So the main difference is that one of them is readable, we can read it, and the other is we can watch it in front of being performed by actress on stage.
Yeah, I mean, Hassan, in terms of interpretation, in terms of reading the play, how would you read a play that is being performed on the stage versus how you read it as a text? Is there any difference in the way you read it?
Yes, I think a lot of different. Based on the discourse, we can analyze and interpret things when they are being performed differently, because the intonation and the tonation and the way an actress says something may like shift our attention from one aspect to another, because there is something called the paralinguistics, the body language and the way actors move upon stage to in order to shed the light upon like a certain motifs and certain ideas that the author wants the audience to understand. On the other hand, when we're reading a script, it's open for interpretations. We can understand it from many several in many several ways, not in a way when we watch a play being performed in front of audience.
So because of all these signs on the stage, the lighting, the decoration, the actors, their body movements, their the props on the stage, the different arrangements of the tables, the bed and everything, every sign on the stage and the duality or the interaction with the audience, the viewers, would have a meaning, would have an interpretation. Whereas when you read a dramatic text, you give rein to your imagination, right? You create your own world inside your head. You imagine the space. You imagine the actors moving. Even when you read the dialogue, you can visualize how this dialogue would be, or you imagine how it would be acted out, right? So is there, do you think that when you read a text, you have more ideas or you have more thoughts than when you watch the play being acted out on the stage?
Well, perhaps I'm not going to, I'm interested in commenting on this actually. I mean, I'm waiting for the students to come, but I want to.
Of course, Dr. Rania, yes, please.
Go ahead.
No, because that's a very, interesting line of thought, and you've opened a thread of discussion that is absolutely wonderful, Dr. Ahlem, because in the way Emma Donoghue portrays Jack on the stage in this minimalist, stage design is little Jack and older Jack, and both of them occupy the same space in front of the audience, where it actually, forces the audience to be part of the setting. And like you're saying, not just the physical use of the space on the theater stage engages the audience in both physically, visually, as well as psychologically. So there's two different forms of engagement here through Emma Donoghue's use of the stage setting by portraying little Jack and older Jack, where older Jack is looking at little Jack and reflecting on the boundaries, the physical boundaries of the room, and the audience can actually witness that and see the drawings on the wall in Jack's room as being his world, but they're also allowed to penetrate his psychological existence as well at the same time. So your line of thought and the discussion takes us to a very deep analysis of the interaction of the audience with the actors on the stage, both physically, visually, and psychologically. So thank you for that.
But this kind of interaction would surely render new meanings and new interpretations and new imagination. But let me first reflect on the title, Room. Why room without an article? Have you thought, my dear students, about it? Why did Emma Donna write room without any article? What's the significance of the title?
Yeah, think of grammar, guys. Yeah, what's the difference between the room and room? Yeah, well, there is no article, an infinite article there, but yeah. Anyone? Yes, Hassan. Oh, okay, great.
Hassan again.
Hassan. Hassan. Okay.
I'm not quite sure, but like I'm gonna take a wild guess based on my understanding. I think when we say the room, we are like being specific about a certain room. But when we say room, it's general. Like what I'm about to say, I know it's kind of messed up, but it's true. We have millions of rooms or such situation going around the world where women are going through some sort of like a similar situation, because it's, I think saying just room, we are generalizing the idea to include more people in this. It will like touch more people. They will understand this. Like there's at least several rooms in each country where people go through the same exact situation that the protagonist, Jack and his mother are going through. This would purify the emotions, and will the audience would easily adapt to what they are reading or what they are watching, and they would feel pity for them because they can apply what they're going through somehow to themselves. I think this is the reason why they didn't choose any.
You're close. You're very close, Hassan. A room, when it's not specific, it opens the way to many interpretations. It's not just room as the physical room. It can be taken to symbolize the womb, the mother's womb. Mm-hmm. It can be taken to symbolize space. It can be taken to
I say something, Dr.
Ahlam? General, yeah. Space in general. So it's
Dr. Ahlam.
Yes.
It's like this particular saying room without even an indefinite article or a definite article makes it more, as you said, of an abstract idea. Room more abstract here.
So it's more symbolic. It's more symbolic.
Exactly.
It's not to be taken exactly as a word that that signifies the physical space, the denotation of room. The meaning or the dictionary meaning, it acquires new connotative interpretations, new symbolic meanings and significance. So this would, I guess, from the title, you would get a hint to interpreting the play or the novel symbolically, not to be taken verbatim as a story of kidnap and escape, but to try to dig deep and understand the hidden meaning, the symbolic meaning of this seemingly simple narrative or play. The fact that the writer chose a 5-year-old kid as the narrator or as the point of view from which we see the events of the play or the narrative is very significant, is very symbolic. It's not only to see events from the perspective of a kid, to emphasize the strong bond between the kid and his mom. It goes deeper than this. And the language, although the language is very simple, it's highly symbolic, and it refers to a lot of ideas, a lot of philosophical ideas. It's amazing how Emma Donna has managed to incorporate all these ideas and to present them from the perspective of a 5-year-old kid.
Dr. Ahlam,
Now,
if you'll allow me, since we're talking about the ideas, if you'll allow me to pitch in, perhaps one of the most dominant themes in the play by Emma Donoghue is the fact that she uses a white man, but also she, she adds to the characters a Black woman and a Black child. So perhaps it's significant for the students, all right, from University of Jordan to contemplate the significance of this in terms of, colonial theory. If you what's happening here? I mean, if you take a moment, is this a colonial setting? Who's dominant here? It is the white man exercising dominance over a Black woman and a Black child. The Black woman and the Black child are both very vulnerable, vulnerable in society, but their vulnerability is further emphasized by being captives in that small space which he controls. But I invite you, and this is for you to contemplate as you write your critical reflections ahead. Think of colonial theory or the colonial setting, but also think of the Black body. So also explore the concept of Black body in theater and what that means and the significance of that. And, and the concepts of shame and the concepts of racial disparities. Because the Black body is often not just the Black body, but the Black female body is often associated with impurity, savageness, and evil. And is that reflected in the play, or does Emma Donoghue present something else? So I'm inviting you to kind of, think critically about these points, the dominance or white supremacy of represented in Old Nick. But I also ask you in terms of of Nick's masculinity. As a man, there is actually a very good secondary source that discusses the masculinity of the male hero on the Irish theatre stage, because we all are aware that a man is supposedly the provider. So he does provide, but do you think that Nick's masculinity is undermined in this particular, at least in Act 1 of the play? I mean, these are just points of discussion. I think Dr. Negwa wants to pitch in, so go ahead, Dr.
Yes, if you'll allow me to. Well, I believe here also gender, we should contemplate gender in the sense that why did Emma Donoghue have a male, the patriarch, the provider, kidnap a female? And then when she asks for a fan because of the smell of the curry that she's cooking, he refuses to get it and mentions that you should be happy and grateful that I am providing you with the conditions that you are living in. So it's like that the fact that a female could dare to object or rebel from the circumstances that she's in is something to think about and to contemplate also. And we need to ask ourselves, if Ma was not a female and was a male, for example, would he, in that case, have showed the psychological resilience that Ma showed in trying to provide Jack with a schedule per day that would not make him deprived of neither education nor early bedtime sleep nor recreation? So would a male, if Ma was a male and not a female, would that have been the case to overcome the situation of being trapped in a room? The psychological resilience that she showed, would that have been shown if Ma was a male and not a female? This is just what I wanted to say, and the fact that he's always mentioning that you should be grateful. You should not ask for anything more, nor you shouldn't ask for vitamins. You shouldn't ask for a fan. You should just be grateful and be quiet. And he always tries to calm her down and make her not talk and express, just acceptance. Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Nego, I'll just add a comment on this. And at one point, when old Nick runs out of funds financially and is unable to provide the food and the supplies for Ma and Jack, his masculinity is undermined, and he loses that white supremacy and control over Ma and Jack. The other thing I would invite the students to do is to contemplate the theater of the absurd, because Emma Donohue's Room carries a strong, element of absurdity that is parallel to Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot that was published in 1954. Angela Hosseling points out this similarity, and I quote here, saying that the exact location is unknown, and it appears that the characters are placed in some distant region that could be anywhere, unquote. And that's page 1 from Angela Hosseling, which goes back to Dr. Associate Professor Ahlam Osman's invitation to contemplate the title, Room. There is no article, so it could be anywhere. Room. It's not a specific room, it's room anywhere. So I invite the students to contemplate and examine theater of the absurd when analyzing also Emma Donohue's stage adaptation of Room.
May I say something I found also very interesting? The idea of using old Jack as a narrator as well. And there's this idea of he's really making things as he's commenting on the events that are happening. So in a sense, the seeds of narrative are already there in the very dramatic presentation. And I felt that this is quite also very interesting and would allow for us as if I don't know to what extent, when we talk about it in terms of theatricality, it's different when we talk about it in terms of text, reading it as a text. So I was wondering if Dr. Ahlam has something to really comment on this particular aspect of the play. Because, I just want to add this because I'm doing something similar to my students. I'm teaching Introduction to Literature. And there's this story, The Open Window by Saki, which is basically dramatic narrative, and it's dialogue and almost all the time, but there are some kind of narrative going on. So I asked my students, because we're studying different genres, I asked them to turn this into a play. And I also asked them to write a reflection of their what they were able, as Dr. Ahlam asked, what were the differences? How can we turn something narrative into something dramatic? How does it feel? How much we're going to make use of stage directions, for example, how much you're going to change the events or the dialogue that's happening so that you can think in terms of space, where these standing, what they're doing when they're not speaking. These are things also, when it comes to stage, you have to really think about them, because this is the visual experience. While in the text, you might imagine it, but in the actual setting of a physical kind of theater, you need to take decisions, and you need to know where to place these characters as things are moving on and going on. So I was wondering if Dr. Ahlam would really.
While I was writing my paper on Emma Donohue's Room, the novel, I actually reflected on the use of dialogue in the novel. The dialogue gives immediacy and imparts a sense of truth to the narrative. It's immediate. It happens at the time of speaking. And this is, from the narratological point of view, is closing the distance between the reader and the characters in the story. So there is no distance and there is no gap. You can see whatever is going on in the world, in the narrative world, as if you're part of it, as if you're one of the characters. and as if you're seeing a play, actually. So while I was reading the novel, it's as if I was watching a play or a movie. I didn't feel that I was distanced from the events. And so when it was turned into a play, it was an easy task. It was an easy task to turn the novel into a play, because the essence or the main aspect of a drama, a dramatic text, is dialogue. But my question regarding the difference between the dramatic text and the theatrical performance, and even between the narrative and the film, the movie, is that each medium has its own rules of interpretation, its own codes and conventions, and its own way of reading it. So if I analyze Emma Donna's Room, the novel, I would use different conventions than when I try to analyze it as a dramatic text or as a theatrical performance or as a movie. I would use the tools or the conventions of this genre. I would read it as a play. I would read it as a novel, as a movie, or as a play. The main difference between theater and drama lies in three main components. The theatrical performance has to be three-dimensional. So if it's two-dimensional, it ceases to be a theatrical performance. It's a movie. It's anything else. So the spatio-temporal relations are very important in theater. Another important thing is the idea of secondary reality and possible worlds, which means that when you watch a play, you see it as secondary reality. You know that these are actors on the stage, but still you identify with these actors and you accept whatever they are saying and doing as if it were real, although you know, you're 100% sure that this is acting, this is not real. So perceiving the performance as secondary reality is, again, one of the main aspects of theater. And the third aspect is the duality of the spatial sign and the stage, the interaction that I was talking about between the signs and this stage, this space, and between the actors on the stage and the viewers, the audience. This kind of interaction, again, is one of the most important ways to interpret a theatrical performance. So to cut a long story short is whenever you approach a work of art, you need to be armed with the conventions of this genre and to read it in its context, as we say, or to be attentive to the signs, to listen to the hidden messages, and what is not mentioned is probably more important and more significant than what is mentioned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rahlam. I was just going to say something that, with regards to the success of the adaptation of Room from a film or a novel to drama, a lot of the success goes back to Emma Donohue's knowledge of theatre and understanding of how to produce, the intricate details of theatre and the use of space and performance, because she uses, or there's a lot of parallelisms that can be seen in her work to Harold Pinter, Godot, and also Friel's work. So in terms of, was it easy? I'm sure she can vouch for that. I did have a personal interview with her when I was writing the paper. And I think for her, when she mentioned that she designed the play with the two characters to show the primitive existence of both Ma and Jack within our modern 21st century Ireland, amidst economic boom and the degraded life that the marginalized Blacks, the vulnerable single mothers and children are living in modern day Ireland, and under the current policies and the government restrictions with regards to supporting single mothers, Black women, vulnerable children, and even Nick himself, who's unemployed. So perhaps also your students need to consider these aspects also when looking at Emma Donohue's room in terms of the social, political, and economic context in which the play was written, and or the context in which it is,
It's amazing, Dr. Rania, how Emma Donna has diversified the message from one genre to another. So as a narrative, there is nothing post-colonial at all in the novel. There is no mention of post-colonialism. The characters are not Black. They are not drawn as representing, they are not Black. They are not representing the
minorities,
marginalized indigenous people, nothing of the sort. It's amazing how she could manage to make each medium stand alone. Like it's not another version of the novel or the movie.
Absolutely right, because the film was award-winning, the novel was award-winning, the play was award-winning. So each genre in its own right was award-winning. So yes, you're absolutely right, Dr. Ahlam.
But I sort of disagree when you take the opinion of the writer. For me, the author is dead. I believe in the death of the author. I believe that the reader should interpret the work regardless of anything else, any external factors. So everything is in the text. So just read the text and respond to the text and read it within the conventions of the genre in which it is written. This
right.
is my
I think we might. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahlam. We might be, we're close to our, the seminar coming to an end. So, Dr. Duaa, if you'd like to add something, or your students, before we wrap up, go ahead.
No, it's just that it's a very exciting and very intriguing and very enriching experience. And as I said, that I'm very happy that my students got a chance to hear all these kind of important information about how to to concentrate on the conventions of the genre to make sense of a certain work of literature, and yes, the openness of the text to so many different interpretations is also something that would enrich the experience, would make it more exciting. And again, there is no one formula, there is no one interpretation. This kind is, it's like the open space. It's an open space, and you can always find something. But you have to. I always say you have to have some kind of support from the text itself. You cannot just come up with any interpretation unless it's there. So, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of things that we'd like to discuss, but for the time being, I feel that this would be very helpful for my students to go and revisit their papers and their reflection paper. I'm sure the whole discussion will allow them to think of various things, as you've already invited them to look at various aspects, and this is what literature is all about. It's a beautiful discussion and conversation that will help you to open up the world and to see things differently, and to make use of also, because we cannot forget the I don't want to call it the educational aspect in the sense, but there's a growing experience, the cathartic element of drama itself, whether we like it or not. We go there, we experience something different, okay, because of the conventions, because of the intimacy, because of the secondary reality, because of all these things. So definitely. And one thing that I want my students to keep in mind now when they're revisiting their papers is to think of, yes, of the theatrical performance of this play as they're reading it as a text and as they're thinking of also how it's going to be staged and all these things. Thank you very much. I feel very happy, fulfilled in so many different ways. I'll leave the floor to you, Dr. Rania, but thank you, Dr. Ahlam and Dr. Nagwa, for such brilliant, and insightful remarks. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, Dr. Rania, it goes without saying, your great performance. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Duaa Salameh, for this collaboration on a drama course related to Irish dramatist Emma Donoghue and her work Room. And your students. We look forward to future collaboration. I would also like to thank my colleagues in the Department of English Language and Literature, Associate Professor Ahlam Osman and Dr. Nagwa Sulaiman for joining us this afternoon for the drama seminar on Emma Donoghue's Room, and the students from University of Jordan. Thank you very much. And we look forward to future collaboration. And we wish you all the best and best of luck, and have a pleasant afternoon from Cairo.
Yeah, a lovely, pleasant afternoon from Jordan. Thank you very much, guys. And my students, I really appreciate your attendance and your contribution and everything.